New York City, January 1946. The Metropolitan Museum of Art stands granite and immovable against a pewter winter sky, its galleries hushed as held breath. Inside, Curator Eleanor Voss lifts a Vermeer from its packing crate, with the reverence of a woman handling consecrated light. The painting, Woman at an Open Window, exhales centuries of stillness. The cool Dutch luminescence, the woman's half-turned gaze, the quality of silence that only great art can manufacture. Eleanor catalogues methodically, gloved fingers tracing the gilded frame, the taut linen, the seasoned oak of the stretcher bar. Then she pauses. Beneath the grain, a faint ink stamp, partially erased, but not erased enough. 2 letters survive. A fragment of a name. Eleanor leans closer, and something shifts quietly inside her, like the first tremor before an earthquake nobody else has felt yet. Beneath the cold eye of the magnifying lens, the truth refuses to stay buried. Eleanor's gloved fingers tremble almost imperceptibly as the faded impression resolves into clarity. A family stamp, Germanic script, partially abraded but unmistakable. Goldschmidt, Vienna, 1938, the year the city swallowed its Jews whole. She breathes slowly, steadying herself against the examination table's steel edge, the faint chemical smell of conservation fluid sharp in the air. Back at her desk, the donor ledgers yield their careful half-truths. Names, dates, transactions that navigate tidily around the abyss of wartime. Ownership transferred. Collection dispersed. A bureaucratic fog, deliberate and practiced. Someone has curated this silence with the same precision applied to the painting itself. Eleanor closes the ledger and stares at the Vermeer's luminous, unknowing woman, and reaches for her passport. The director's office smells of pipe tobacco and careful ambition. Afternoon light falls in long rectangles across the mahogany desk, where Hargrove sits, unmoved, a monument to institutional convenience. Eleanor lays her findings before him: the provenance tag, the registry cross-references, the name Kleinhauer typed in fading ink. Evidence assembled with the patience of someone who believes truth carries its own authority. It does not here. Hargrove's response is measured, almost surgical. A warning dressed as wisdom, the donor's influence invoked like a papal decree. Eleanor gathers her papers slowly, each movement deliberate, betraying nothing. The office door closes behind her with a whisper rather than a slam. In the marble corridor beyond, her footsteps echo with quiet, gathering purpose. She has not been stopped. She has only been shown how far she must go alone. Vienna, 1957. The city wears its beauty like a borrowed coat. Magnificent, ill-fitting, concealing wounds it cannot name. Eleanor Voss arrives in November, when the Danube runs the color of old pewter and coal smoke thickens the morning air. The State Archive smells of damp stone and bureaucratic evasion. Clerks shuffle papers with practiced indifference, their eyes sliding past her requests like water past glass. Whole decades, she is told, are unavailable. Whole families, erased by paperwork as efficiently as they were erased by other means. Yet persistence has its own quiet power. An older archivist, gray-suited, hollow-eyed, carrying the particular exhaustion of a man who has witnessed too much and said too little, hesitates at his desk. Then, without a word, he slides a small, folded note across the counter. Whatever Eleanor believes she is looking for, she is about to discover it is far more dangerous than a painting. Vienna, 1958. Eleanor climbs 4 flights of worn stone stairs to a flat barely larger than a confession booth. Rosa Goldschmidt answers the door in a black wool cardigan, her hands trembling like autumn leaves that refuse to fall. The room smells of chicory coffee and camphor, the air thick with a silence decades in the making. Rosa needs no persuasion. From beneath a narrow bed she retrieves a photograph, edges soft with handling. And there it is, the Vermeer, luminous above a marble fireplace, surrounded by a family caught forever in an ordinary afternoon. Rosa weeps without sound, the particular grief of someone who has cried until tears become mere formality. Eleanor holds the photograph with both hands, as though it might dissolve. The painting has a past. Now she must find who still holds its future. Paris, autumn, 1958. The Rue du Faubourg Saint-Honoré gleams with a deceptive elegance. Gilt frames and polished glass, masking a decade of careful forgetting. Eleanor enters the gallery of Marcel Renard like someone walking into a confession she was never meant to hear. The air smells of linseed oil and old money. Renard is a small man made smaller by guilt, his hands moving constantly across the surface of things he cannot quite touch. He deflects, equivocates, rearranges catalogues with trembling precision. But Eleanor has studied silences longer than he has practiced them. A single misfiled invoice, glimpsed in an unguarded moment. A name, a city, a year. 1946. New York. The painting had crossed an ocean before the bodies were even counted. Now, for the first time, Eleanor knows exactly where to look. The chandeliers of Senator Price's Georgetown mansion throw their light across surfaces that do not belong here. Champagne moves through white-gloved hands. A Monet, a Degas, a Flemish still life, its provenance as thin as cigarette paper. Eleanor moves through the gilded rooms like a woman walking underwater, reading the walls as one reads a confession. She has seen the Swiss receipts now, dates that cannot be coincidental, sums that insult the dead. Price laughs across the room, easy and enormous, wrapped in the particular confidence of men who have never been asked to account for anything. Eleanor sets down her glass. The crystal stem leaves a perfect ring on the mahogany, a small, silent mark. She understands now that knowledge is no longer enough, and that what she does next will cost her everything. It is the winter of 1961. In a small office on the museum's 4th floor, Eleanor Voss works by the pale light of a single brass lamp. Around her, 12 years of silence are finally broken, spread across the desk in carbon copies, customs, receipts, and yellowed auction ledgers from a Paris house that no longer exists. She types slowly, deliberately, each keystroke a small act of reckoning. The dossier is 43 pages. It names names. It traces the painting from a dining room in Vienna to the hands of a dealer who asked no questions, and then to the gilded walls of America. Her resignation letter sits beside it, already signed. She seals the envelope with the quiet certainty of someone who has counted the cost and paid it willingly. By morning, nothing at the Metropolitan Museum of Art will ever be the same. The boardroom on the 4th floor of the Metropolitan smells of pipe tobacco and old mahogany. A room built for certainty, not conscience. 11 men in charcoal suits arrange themselves around the table, like judges at a tribunal. Eleanor stands alone, her evidence stacked in neat manila folders, her voice steadied by 3 years of silence and one impossible truth. Vote is taken by raised hands. 5 against. 6 for. Director Hargrove's hand remains planted on the table like a stone, his jaw set, his eyes unforgiving. She has won. The Vermeer will go home. But before the evening is out, a letter is slid beneath her office door. Typed, formal, bloodless, suspended, pending review. Outside, Manhattan hums indifferently in the January dark. And somewhere across the Atlantic, a family does not yet know that someone has finally spoken their name. Vienna, 1961. The Belvedere's galleries hold the cold light of a November morning, thin and pale as bone china. Eleanor Voss stands beside Rosa Feldman, gray-haired now, composed in the manner of someone who has survived the unsurvivable. Between them hangs the Vermeer, reinstated within a gilded frame against stone walls that once echoed with the boots of another age. No speeches are given. No applause rises. Only the soft mechanical click of a curator adjusting a lamp, flooding the canvas in warm amber. The woman in the painting gazes eternally outward, toward a window, toward something just beyond reach. Eleanor touches nothing. She simply looks, the way one looks at a grave, or a miracle. Somewhere in a file drawer in New York, 43 other names are waiting.